Before we even talk about breaking cycles, I want you to look at yourself and ask one question: how long are you going to let the past dictate your future? How long will the struggles that weren't even yours hold you back from stepping into the life you were meant to live? Generational curses aren't just stories. They are invisible chains repeating patterns of limitation, fear, and doubt that whisper, "This is all you're capable of." But what if I told you that God has already given you everything you need to break those chains? What if I told you that your breakthrough isn't just possible, it's already being prepared in ways you cannot even see yet? You see, God doesn't just call us to survive, He calls us to rise. He calls us to confront the cycles that have tried to define us, to walk in courage when everyone else expects us to stay silent, to step boldly into doors that were once closed, and to leave a legacy that your children and their children will inherit with pride. Today isn't just another day, it's a moment of awakening. Today is the day you recognize that your life has a purpose greater than repetition, greater than limitation, greater than fear. Divine alignment is that subtle yet undeniable force that positions you on a path meant specifically for you, a path that is designed to break cycles and rewrite destinies. It is the quiet whisper in your spirit that nudges you in directions that don't always make sense to the world around you, but make perfect sense to the God who knows the blueprint of your life. When you are in alignment with God, you feel a certain rhythm in your steps, a flow in your actions, and a sense of peace in your choices that cannot be manufactured or forced. It is not just about coincidence or luck. Divine alignment is about God orchestrating circumstances, opportunities, and even people to converge in ways that push you beyond the limitations inherited from the past. It is the difference between moving in circles and moving on purpose. People who are called to break generational curses often find that the world seems to test them more, yet in the midst of those trials, doors open in ways that feel like they were designed just for them. The right connections appear at the right time, challenges arrive that refine character, and clarity emerges in decisions that once seemed impossible. Divine alignment is a multidimensional process where God works in your favor in ways you cannot fully see, layering your journey with lessons, preparation, and validation, all while keeping you moving toward a destiny that is bigger than personal ambition or immediate gratification. It is important to understand that divine alignment does not mean life becomes easy or free of struggle. In fact, it often feels heavier because God does not remove the refining fire, but rather walks you through it, ensuring that you come out stronger, wiser, and more equipped to dismantle cycles that have plagued your family or community for generations. When you are aligned with God, the universe begins to act in favor of your purpose. Opportunities arrive that once seemed unattainable, and doors that were long closed open at the exact right moment. The work you put in starts to produce results, not just incrementally but exponentially, because you are no longer swimming against currents set by old patterns or limiting beliefs. This alignment is deeply spiritual, and it manifests in practical ways: sudden clarity in decision-making, the people who come into your life with wisdom and resources, or a sense of timing that feels almost prophetic. There is a consistency, a pattern, a rhythm to your life that begins to signal that God is not just present in the moments of struggle, but actively directing your steps to break what was never meant to define you. When you are divinely aligned, you start noticing patterns in the choices you make. You may see doors closing that no longer serve your growth, and opportunities emerging that challenge you to think bigger, act bolder, and operate in integrity. There is a sense of inevitability in your progress, a divine certainty that while the path may be difficult, it is the path that has been carved for you by God Himself. This alignment also sharpens your discernment, helping you differentiate between distractions, temporary pleasures, and true opportunities for legacy building. God's hand in alignment often requires patience and faith because timing is precise. You may plant seeds that seem to produce nothing for years, yet the process of planting, watering, and tending prepares you to harvest a legacy of transformation. Every struggle, every choice, every encounter becomes a thread in the larger tapestry of your purpose. Divine alignment is a confirmation that your actions, efforts, and prayers are not in vain. It provides a spiritual compass that helps you navigate complex situations with confidence, knowing that even when the path is unclear, God's purpose is unfolding. It allows you to trust the journey, even when it requires stepping away from comfort, safety, or the expectations of others. The clarity that comes with alignment makes you less susceptible to fear, doubt, and discouragement because you can sense the hand of God orchestrating outcomes in ways beyond human comprehension. People who are aligned divinely often report a sense of being pulled toward their destiny, as if circumstances, relationships, and opportunities converge almost magically, yet always in a way that challenges them to rise, grow, and lead. It is a subtle, constant confirmation that the work you are doing, both internally and externally, is purposeful and transformative. When your spirit resonates with divine alignment, you begin to see that the breaking of generational curses is not just about resisting patterns, but about moving in a God-ordained direction that produces lasting change. Every decision, every act of discipline, every pursuit of wisdom becomes part of a larger strategy orchestrated by God. This alignment acts like a magnetic field, drawing you toward what is essential and away from what will stall or derail your mission. It is in this alignment that you find the courage to confront the cycles that have defined your family history, to make choices that feel radical, and to persist in the face of resistance from external forces or internal doubts. Divine alignment is the signal, the confirmation, and the fuel for those called to break cycles, and it is often the difference between repeating history and rewriting it in ways that honor God's purpose for your life. Inherited patterns awareness is the moment when you begin to recognize that not everything in your life is a result of your own choices. Some of it comes from the cycles, behaviors, and beliefs passed down through generations. These patterns often operate quietly, almost invisibly, shaping decisions, reactions, and perceptions of what is possible or permissible. They can be emotional, financial, relational, or even spiritual, and they carry the weight of family history, community expectations, and societal pressures. To become aware of these patterns is to awaken to a truth many avoid confronting: the fact that your struggles may not be entirely your own, and your potential may have been confined by unseen chains long before you were born. God, in His wisdom, gives moments of clarity, often through reflection, confrontation with repetitive failures, or divine insight that allow you to see the invisible threads connecting your life to those who came before you. When you begin to notice these cycles, it can be unsettling because suddenly the narrative you have lived under, whether it's poverty, broken relationships, self-doubt, or lack of direction, is reframed not as destiny but as inheritance, something you are fully capable of breaking with intention and faith. Awareness of inherited patterns is often accompanied by a sense of responsibility. You realize that the choices you make today are not just for yourself, but for the generations that will follow. The pain and limitations your ancestors experienced were never meant to be permanent, and through recognition, you gain the first opportunity to intervene. It requires honesty, humility, and courage to face the parts of your life that mirror the struggles of your family, behaviors that were normalized, mindsets that were unconsciously adopted, and fears that were internalized. God's guidance in this process is subtle yet powerful. It may come as a sudden understanding in prayer, a moment of reflection that reveals why you respond to certain situations in predictable ways, or the insight that certain challenges are recurring because they are tied to unresolved generational wounds. This awareness is not about blaming the past or dwelling in regret. It is about seeing clearly the dynamics that have limited growth and choosing to respond differently. Becoming aware of inherited patterns also heightens your discernment. You begin to notice how behaviors and attitudes are reproduced unconsciously. Perhaps financial instability, self-sabotage, conflict in relationships, or lack of vision appears repeatedly across generations, and you can now trace these back to habits or decisions made long before you were born. Awareness is the first step in creating intentional change because you can no longer act blindly or excuse patterns as unchangeable. You understand that breaking generational curses requires a combination of spiritual insight, deliberate action, and often the courage to do what others did not do. God provides the clarity to see what has been hidden, the strength to confront what is uncomfortable, and the wisdom to choose new pathways that redefine the story. The process may involve confronting family dynamics, addressing personal fears rooted in ancestral experiences, and challenging societal norms that perpetuate limitation. Awareness allows you to separate what belongs to the past from what is meant to be yours in the present. This awareness also comes with an awakening to responsibility for the future. You realize that the decisions you make, the values you embody, and the discipline you cultivate are not merely personal victories. They are the foundation for a legacy that breaks cycles and empowers those who follow. Every time you act with integrity, pursue education, practice emotional intelligence, or demonstrate faith in adversity, you are disrupting inherited patterns and replacing them with new models for those who come after you. Awareness makes you intentional. It transforms the way you approach relationships, finances, personal growth, and spiritual development. You begin to see that your life is not isolated, but interconnected with a lineage that has been waiting for someone to rise above, someone willing to challenge what has always been accepted. Inherited patterns awareness is also intimately tied to humility. Recognizing that you have been influenced by generational behaviors means confronting the fact that no one exists in isolation and no success or failure is purely individual. God often reveals this awareness gradually through experiences that reflect old patterns in your own life, prompting self-examination, prayer, and reflection. This is a form of spiritual education where each insight functions as a tool for liberation. Awareness allows you to predict and intercept recurring challenges before they become entrenched problems, giving you the chance to act with wisdom instead of reaction. It also opens the door for gratitude because in seeing the past clearly, you can appreciate the progress that has already been made, even through struggle, and harness those lessons to fuel change. Through this awareness, you learn to break cycles not through anger or rebellion, but through intentionality and divine guidance. You begin to see patterns, understand their impact, and create new approaches that transform your life and the lives of those who come after you. It is a deep spiritual insight that requires honesty, courage, and faith, and it lays the foundation for the next steps in breaking generational curses. In recognizing these patterns, you are no longer bound by what has always been. You are equipped to define what will be. Uncommon resilience is the rare quality that separates those who merely endure life struggles from those who rise above them to create transformation, not only for themselves but for generations to come. It is the ability to persist when circumstances seem impossible, when the weight of past mistakes, family struggles, and societal limitations threaten to hold you down. This type of resilience is not learned through comfort. It is forged in the fires of challenge, trial, and opposition. God often tests the resolve of those called to break generational curses by placing them in situations that would overwhelm an ordinary person. These challenges are not arbitrary. They are deliberate, designed to reveal the strength within, to awaken potential that has long been dormant, and to teach lessons that will shape character, wisdom, and leadership. Unlike resilience that fades when pressure increases, uncommon resilience is persistent. It does not crumble in the face of rejection, failure, or doubt, because it is rooted in a deeper understanding that the struggle is part of the process and the process is guided by a purpose far greater than oneself. Uncommon resilience begins with mindset. Those who are destined to disrupt cycles recognize that adversity is not a roadblock but a catalyst. They see difficulties as opportunities to refine patience, discipline, and strategic thinking. God provides a steadying presence in these moments, a spiritual anchor that reminds them that the trials they face are not meaningless. Resilient individuals understand that their response to hardship matters more than the hardship itself, and they cultivate the ability to remain steadfast while the world around them sways with fear or doubt. This resilience is not superficial, it's profound, cultivated through prayer, reflection, and deliberate alignment with values that transcend immediate gratification. The person with uncommon resilience develops an internal compass guided by faith, vision, and self-discipline, which allows them to navigate challenges that would otherwise derail the unprepared. Another aspect of uncommon resilience is the ability to endure emotional and psychological burdens without losing sight of the ultimate goal. Those breaking generational curses often inherit not only tangible hardships, but also emotional wounds passed down through families, fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs that have been reinforced over time. God strengthens the spirit to handle these invisible weights, providing clarity and courage to confront inner obstacles while simultaneously engaging external challenges. It is in this dual battle that true resilience emerges, the ability to persevere while transforming the very patterns that threaten to define one's life. Resilient individuals do not allow inherited limitations to dictate their outcomes. They understand that enduring the struggle without succumbing to despair requires both a spiritual foundation and practical strategy, a combination of faith in God's guidance and deliberate action to break free from what has been historically accepted as normal or inevitable. Uncommon resilience is also about vision and commitment. People with this trait maintain focus on long-term goals even when short-term circumstances are discouraging. God often places dreams, callings, and purpose within the heart, and resilience is what ensures those visions are not abandoned when life gets hard. It is the capacity to keep moving when the path is unclear, to keep building even when resources are scarce, and to maintain integrity even when shortcuts are tempting. This type of resilience is not reactive, it is proactive, requiring foresight, discipline, and a willingness to act consistently over time. Those with uncommon resilience recognize that breaking generational curses is rarely immediate or easy. It requires sustained effort, repeated learning, and constant adaptation, all under the guidance of a higher power. Uncommon resilience also manifests in adaptability and creativity. Life rarely presents challenges exactly as planned, and those called to break cycles must navigate uncertainty with intelligence and agility. God equips them with the insight to see opportunities within obstacles, to pivot without losing focus, and to create solutions that defy conventional thinking. This resilience is not stubbornness, it is flexibility rooted in strength, a willingness to learn from failures and to persist with renewed strategy. Individuals with this trait develop an almost unshakable confidence in their ability to overcome setbacks because they have cultivated a pattern of doing so repeatedly, often in situations where the odds were stacked against them. Finally, uncommon resilience extends beyond self-preservation. It is generational. The lessons learned, the habits developed, and the strength cultivated become tools not only for personal breakthrough, but for dismantling cycles that have long limited families and communities. God confirms the presence of this resilience by aligning circumstances in ways that allow the individual to practice it, strengthening their resolve through challenges and providing glimpses of victory that affirm their path. This resilience becomes a legacy, a living example that change is possible, that inherited limitations can be overcome, and that persistence under divine guidance produces transformation. Divine favor and open doors are the unmistakable signs that God is actively guiding your journey, positioning you to achieve what has never been possible before, and validating your commitment to breaking generational curses. Divine favor is not about luck or coincidence. It is the manifestation of God's grace in ways that change the trajectory of your life, often when the world seems to be against you. It is the force that allows opportunities to emerge seemingly out of nowhere, people to appear at the right moment with exactly what you need, and resources to align in ways that make achieving your purpose possible. Those who are called to break cycles quickly realize that working hard alone is not enough. Favor is the element that multiplies effort, turns the impossible into the achievable, and turns struggle into a platform for influence. God's favor does not mean the absence of challenges, but it means that in the midst of trials, you encounter unexpected help, insight, and an advantage that would be impossible to manufacture through human effort alone. When doors open at just the right time, when obstacles seem to bend around your persistence, and when you are able to accomplish more than your preparation alone would allow, these are confirmations that divine favor is at work. This favor often appears subtly at first as a sense of alignment that others around you cannot explain. It may show up in connections with mentors, partners, or collaborators who recognize your potential and provide guidance opportunities or resources without expectation. Sometimes it is timing itself, an unexpected call, a sudden offer, or a chance encounter that shifts your path dramatically. God orchestrates these circumstances in ways that accelerate progress, but they are not accidental. They are the reward of faithfulness, discipline, and a heart committed to breaking cycles that have held generations in bondage. Recognizing these moments requires spiritual awareness, an ability to discern between temporary gains and true God-ordained opportunities, and the courage to step into doors even when fear or uncertainty whispers to stay back. Those who walk in divine favor learn to trust the process, understanding that God's timing is perfect and that open doors are often the result of preparation, resilience, and alignment with purpose rather than mere chance. Divine favor is also about protection. Often, doors open not only to opportunities but away from harm, wrong decisions, or situations that could perpetuate generational patterns. God's guidance redirects your steps in ways that protect you from unseen dangers, keeping you on a path where your talents, faith, and vision are maximized rather than compromised. It is in these moments that faith becomes tangible. You begin to see that challenges are not just obstacles, but setups for favor to manifest. Favor may come in the form of resources appearing exactly when needed, insights provided at the perfect moment, or unexpected allies who help navigate situations that once seemed insurmountable. Each sign reinforces that your path is divinely ordained, that the efforts to break cycles are recognized by God, and that persistence in alignment with His will produces results beyond human expectation. Another critical aspect of divine favor is the acceleration it provides. Those who break generational curses often face uphill battles that have been perpetuated for decades, sometimes centuries. Human effort alone may make progress painfully slow or inconsistent, but favor has the power to accelerate breakthroughs, turning years of struggle into moments of momentum. It is not a guarantee that life will be free of difficulty, but it ensures that effort and faith are amplified. Opportunities may arrive in clusters, doors open in rapid succession, and solutions to long-standing problems manifest in ways that feel miraculous. This acceleration is not always predictable. It requires trust that God is arranging circumstances with precision, preparing you for responsibilities that extend beyond personal success to influence family, community, and even generations to come. Favor also demands responsibility and alignment. It is not an excuse for complacency or entitlement. God's favor often arrives with a call to integrity, vision, and disciplined action. Doors open, but stepping through them requires courage, preparation, and obedience. Those who recognize divine favor understand that each opportunity is a test of readiness, character, and purpose. Favor amplifies what is already present within you. It does not create skill or wisdom out of nothing. It is a catalyst that transforms preparation into tangible results, dreams into achievable realities, and faith into evidence of breakthrough. Finally, divine favor and open doors are transformative beyond the individual. As you walk through opportunities provided by God's grace, your actions begin to dismantle patterns that have held your family or community captive. What once seemed impossible becomes possible, creating momentum that others can follow and demonstrating that generational curses are not permanent chains, but challenges that can be overcome through alignment with God's plan. Favor confirms that your efforts, sacrifices, and faith are not in vain, and it validates the calling to rise above inherited limitations. It is both a gift and a signal, a confirmation that the path you are on is God-ordained, that the struggles endured have purpose, and that the doors opening before you are invitations to redefine what is possible for yourself and those who come after you. Spiritual confirmation through peace and clarity is one of the most profound ways God communicates that you are on the right path, particularly when it comes to breaking generational curses that have long defined your family or community. It is not always accompanied by dramatic signs or overt miracles. Often it comes as a quiet, unshakable sense that your decisions, actions, and direction align with a higher purpose. This confirmation is the still, small voice within, a deep inner knowing that what you are pursuing is not only right for you but ordained by God. When you feel this sense of peace, it is as if the chaos of the world, the pressures of external expectations, and the noise of doubt fade into the background, leaving you with an unshakable confidence that your choices, though challenging or unconventional, are divinely guided. Those who are called to dismantle generational patterns often encounter situations where the familiar path is the easier choice, where following old cycles would seem safer, or where society pushes conformity. Spiritual confirmation through peace and clarity allows you to move forward courageously, knowing that the discomfort of breaking old patterns is outweighed by the divine assurance that the new path is the one you are meant to walk. This type of confirmation often comes in moments of decision. When the stakes are high and the risk of failure feels real, you may feel pulled in multiple directions, yet a profound sense of calm emerges when you align your choice with God's will. That calm is not passive, it is active guidance, a signal that despite uncertainty, you are moving in harmony with the purpose God has set for your life. It manifests as clarity in thought, sharpness in discernment, and a lack of inner conflict even when external circumstances seem to challenge your decision. When you experience this kind of clarity, You are able to distinguish between distractions, societal pressures, and what truly serves the higher mission of breaking cycles that have been embedded for generations. This spiritual clarity is crucial because breaking generational curses is rarely simple or immediately rewarding. It requires making choices that may go against the expectations of family, community, or even yourself. The confirmation through peace acts as a compass, helping you navigate complexity with wisdom, courage, and integrity. Spiritual confirmation is also closely tied to discernment. It allows you to recognize opportunities that are truly aligned with God's plan versus those that may seem attractive, but ultimately perpetuate old cycles or compromise your integrity. The feeling of peace serves as a signal that a particular path, relationship, or decision is divinely sanctioned, whereas inner unease often signals misalignment or potential harm. This discernment is not learned through education or experience alone. It is cultivated through prayer, meditation, reflection, and the consistent practice of listening to God's voice over the noise of the world. Over time, you develop a spiritual sensitivity that allows you to respond to life with intentionality, to recognize when a choice is guided by divine insight rather than impulse or fear, and to step confidently into situations that will shape your destiny and break inherited limitations. The clarity that comes from spiritual confirmation often transcends logical reasoning. It provides understanding that certain steps, even when challenging, are necessary for transformation. You may feel pulled to confront family patterns, pursue unconventional paths, or make sacrifices that seem extreme to outsiders, yet the inner peace you experience validates that these actions are aligned with the divine plan. This clarity fosters resilience and perseverance because you no longer operate under doubt or second guessing. Instead, you move with conviction, knowing that your efforts are part of a greater purpose that transcends immediate outcomes. It becomes a source of strength when obstacles appear, when progress seems slow, and when the temptation to revert old familiar cycles presents itself. Spiritual confirmation also has a cumulative effect. Each time you make a decision guided by peace and clarity and see it bear fruit in alignment with God's plan, your faith and confidence are strengthened. You begin to trust the process, recognizing that the moments of hesitation, fear, or external pressure are part of the testing process and that God's guidance is consistently available to lead you through. This growing trust allows you to take bold actions, step into leadership, and make choices that impact not only your life, but the lives of those around you. It transforms ordinary decision-making into an exercise of spiritual empowerment, equipping you to challenge generational curses with authority, wisdom, and divine backing. Through this inner confirmation, you learn that breaking cycles is not merely a physical or practical task, but a deeply spiritual one. It requires listening beyond the obvious, trusting beyond the visible, and acting beyond what fear or doubt would dictate. Peace and clarity serve as both a signal and a shield, guiding you through uncertainty while fortifying your resolve. This spiritual insight ensures that the path you walk is intentional, that your actions are effective, and that the legacy you create is one of breakthrough, transformation, and alignment with God's ultimate plan. Impact beyond self is the understanding that breaking generational curses is never just about personal success or achievement. It is about creating a ripple effect that transforms families, communities, and even future generations. When God calls someone to disrupt patterns that have persisted over time, He equips them not only with the tools to change their own circumstances, but also with the vision to influence others and leave a lasting legacy. This impact begins with the recognition that your life is interconnected with those who came before you and those who will come after. The choices you make, the habits you cultivate, and the values you embody are not isolated. They either reinforce cycles of limitation or challenge them with new possibilities. God often prepares people for this calling by giving them a deep sense of responsibility and purpose, a recognition that their victories are not solely for personal gain, but for the restoration and empowerment of entire lineages. This awareness fuels intentionality, guiding actions, decisions, and even sacrifices toward outcomes that extend far beyond immediate gratification or individual recognition. Impact beyond self requires a mindset shift from self-preservation to stewardship. Those who break generational curses understand that their lives are instruments of transformation. They see their struggles as opportunities to model resilience, faith, and discipline in a way that inspires others to rise above inherited limitations. God magnifies the influence of those who live with this mindset, allowing their actions to reverberate through multiple spheres of life. Every choice to act with integrity, pursue education, or engage in disciplined financial or relational practices becomes a template for others. When you refuse to replicate cycles of fear, addiction, poverty, or dysfunction, you create a blueprint that others can follow, demonstrating that generational patterns are not immutable. Spiritual insight and divine guidance often accompany this impact, as God ensures that lessons learned and victories gained are positioned to benefit not only yourself, but also those around you, providing proof that transformation is possible through intentional, faith-driven effort. The tangible effects of impact beyond self manifest in many ways. Families begin to experience shifts in behavior, attitudes, and opportunities as one member embodies change. Children, siblings, and even extended relatives observe and internalize patterns of resilience, responsibility, and vision. Communities start to feel the influence of someone who refuses to be bound by the limitations of the past as they see new standards of success, discipline, and faith being established. Breaking generational curses is inherently social and relational. It requires interactions, mentorship, and leadership that demonstrate alternative paths. God often confirms this calling by opening doors for influence, providing opportunities to lead, teach, and model new ways of living that challenge long-standing norms. The impact grows exponentially because it is not restricted to one life. It multiplies as others emulate the principles demonstrated, creating waves of change that extend far beyond the original act of breakthrough. Impact beyond self also includes the transformation of mindset across generations. When one person disrupts cycles of limitation, they create the psychological and emotional space for others to believe in their own potential. God works through these breakthroughs to instill hope, faith, and courage in others who may have resigned themselves to inherited patterns. Witnessing someone rise above challenges, maintain integrity, and achieve success in alignment with divine purpose shifts what is considered possible for an entire family or community. This influence can last decades, even centuries, as behaviors, attitudes, and expectations are permanently altered. Each act of courage, each decision made in alignment with purpose, reinforces a new standard, providing evidence that generational curses are breakable and that God equips those willing to persist and lead with vision. Those walking in this impact must embrace responsibility and discipline, recognizing that influence is not a byproduct but a deliberate outcome of intentional living. Spiritual maturity, self-awareness, and consistent action are required to ensure that the legacy being built is positive and transformative. God provides guidance, opportunities, and resources, but the individual must step into the role of catalyst, using wisdom, faith, and perseverance to shape outcomes beyond themselves. Every moment of decision becomes significant, every action a lesson, and every demonstration of faith a beacon for others. This awareness transforms the way life is approached, emphasizing service, stewardship, and foresight over short-term gain or self-centered ambition. Impact beyond self also highlights the intergenerational responsibility of those called to break cycles. It is not enough to change one's own life. The true measure of breakthrough is the ability to alter trajectories for children, nieces, nephews, and future generations. God magnifies the efforts of those who embrace this calling, ensuring that sacrifices, lessons, and victories leave lasting effects. This creates a spiritual, emotional, and practical inheritance that equips others to thrive where previous generations may have struggled. Through this lens, every choice, whether in relationships, finances, education, or spiritual growth, becomes a strategic act of legacy building designed to dismantle old patterns and replace them with principles, behaviors, and faith-driven strategies that elevate the lives of those who follow. Finally, impact beyond self reinforces the divine principle that breaking generational curses is not merely personal liberation, but a mission of restoration. God uses the lives of those above inherited limitations to demonstrate his power, wisdom, and faithfulness. The transformation achieved through courage, discipline, and alignment with purpose becomes a living testimony, showing that cycles of limitation can be disrupted, that divine favor accompanies intentional effort, and that one person's breakthrough can ignite lasting change for many. As we stand on the edge of our own destinies, it's clear that breaking generational curses is not just about changing our own lives. It's about rewriting the story for everyone who comes after us. God has equipped you with alignment, awareness, resilience, favor, confirmation, and the power to impact beyond yourself. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome, every step you take in faith is a step toward liberation, not just for you, but for your family, your community, and future generations. Remember that the work is never wasted, the struggles are never in vain, and the vision God has placed in your heart is bigger than any limitation you've inherited. Walk boldly into your purpose. Trust the signs, embrace the lessons, and move with conviction. You were made to rise above, to disrupt the cycles that have held your lineage, and to leave a legacy of hope, freedom, and faith. Keep your mind clear, your heart steady, and your spirit aligned with the divine plan, because the path to breaking generational curses is also the path to greatness, influence, and lasting impact. Good luck on this journey. May God's wisdom guide you, his strength sustain you, and his favor continue to open doors as you step courageously into the life you were destined to live. Thank you for embracing this calling, for believing in the impossible, and for committing to leave a legacy that others can follow. Keep pushing, keep growing, and keep breaking through, because your breakthrough is not just yours alone. It is a gift to the generations that follow.